Welcome to the Bubba Army YouTube channel. This is Bubba story time. I married this girl named Jill in Terre Haute, Indiana in 1988. But I left in October 28th, 1988. Right. I got it annulled. I don't know if that really, so I guess it really didn't count on my tab at the end of the day, but it kind of does.
Right.
But in September of 1988, I left Terre Haute, Indiana to go work in Grand Rapids, Michigan at WGRD. Well, Jill, my fiance at the time, she's like, well, I'm going to stay back in Terre Haute and get the wedding ready. And you go up and get us an apartment and things like that, and then I'll come up after the wedding. So, I mean, Manson, I'm in Grand Rapids, Michigan for like 60 days.
Ready to start a family.
Well, no, not ready to start a family. I'm the hottest thing on the radio. I'm this new night stalker getting crazy, and all these bitches are calling me in, calling me.
Right.
And my fiance is in Terre Haute. She didn't want to come up here and be with me.
What's a guy to do?
What's a guy to do? Other than to hook up with a little freak named Becky. Hard body, hot, did things that people in Terre Haute don't even know about.
Things that are illegal in certain states.
Yeah. I go down in October 26th or 7th to get married. Rebeka, or Becky, I should say, in Michigan, she's like, you don't want to get married. We're supposed to be together. She's getting in my ear. I almost called it off, but I still did it. So I get married. So we drive all the way from Terre Haute, Indiana to Grand Rapids, Michigan, me and my new wife. I got a little apartment all set up. It's real nice. Well, she instantaneously, Jill, starts like about 3 days into it. She starts crying at night. I've never been away from my mom. It's 5.5 hours from home. I don't know what to do. And I'm like, she goes, I need to get a job. I'm like, I'm making $31,000. We're loaded. Would you shut up?
Delusional.
It's like, you don't even have to have a job, okay? We're fine. So anyway, she went and got a job at the mall. So she's working like 4 hours a day, but every night she's wearing me out. I miss my mom more than anything in the world. I miss my dad. Because she'd never been out of Terre Haute, Indiana, ever. I'm like, listen, honey, if you think I'm going to make it to like Cincinnati or something big time and make like $60,000 and $70,000 a year, we have to go through these little markets like Grand Rapids. I can remember specifically saying that, Manson. We had plans during Thanksgiving to go down to Terre Haute and be with her family. Well, she left 2 weeks early because she wanted to go down there and be with her family and stuff like that. Well, I mean, Ned, what's a guy to do, right? Your wife's crying herself to sleep every night that she hates being in your new city. She misses her mom and her family. She leaves 2 weeks before. I mean, Ned, you got these girls that are, man, Ned, I need some manly advice, buddy.
She practically forced you into it.
She forced you with those women.
So she
with that girl that did all
Becky,
those illegal things to you.
Becky, there's nothing illegal, person. Well, I guess sodomy is
every sodomy law in the books.
And so anyway, me and Rebeka, kind of fling it back, get it back going a little bit, and she's like, "You don't need to be with that girl. She's too conservative. She's ugly."
Okay.
I go home for Thanksgiving. I go back to Terre Haute. Her entire time, her mom is just wearing me out. Well, sometimes marriage is very non-conventional, and maybe Jill could spend like 2 weeks a month in Terre Haute and 2 weeks in Grand Rapids. At that point, I was like, yeah, that's fine with me because I had Becky up there. I'm like, yeah, that's great. And so she doesn't even drive back with me. So I go back by myself. Well, now, Ned, I got Becky spending the night, halfway moved in and everything, right? I mean.
You're a baller.
Yeah. So I would not be telling this story if there was a happy ending, saying, I'm the man. Manson, the only way that this story is going to be digestible to our fans is if
you're getting caught looking stupid.
The joke on me, and it is. 3 days before Christmas, I get fired from Grand Rapids. That's a whole show in itself. I'm not even getting into that. I get fired. So I call up Jill, and I said, listen, I just got fired, and I'm going to go back to my mom's house, which is in Warsaw, Indiana, which is halfway between basically Terre Haute and Grand Rapids. So why don't you come up and spend Christmas with me? Because I already called my mom and told her I got fired and told Janie Cakes I'd like to bring this girl named Rebeka that I'm seeing from Grand Rapids down. And she's like, what are you talking about? You're married to Jill. Like, oh, well, things aren't going so swell there. So my mom says, no, you're not bringing some floozy whore that you're having a fling with to here for Christmas and ruin everybody's Christmas, okay? No.
Man, you were running loose.
I then tell Becky she can't come to Christmas. She's mad. And I tell Jill she needs to come up to Warsaw and be with me for Christmas. And she says, no, I'm staying in Terre Haute. So I have Christmas with my family. She has Christmas with her family. Well, I'm now stationed in Warsaw, Indiana, trying to find a job. So like the 1st of January, I fly from Fort Wayne, Indiana to San Antonio, Texas for a job interview at KTFM. And I get it. So I call Jill up and see Terre Haute's in the southern part of Indiana. Warsaw, Indiana is in the northern part. In order to get to Texas, you have to drive through Terre Haute. So I then tell Jill, listen, I'm going to stop through Terre Haute and I'm going to pick you up. And you're going to come with me and we're going to go down to Texas. I already got us a job. Because Becky at this time had already gotten mad at me because I wouldn't invite her to Christmas, and she said that I was trying to not be proud of her, and, she's a mistress. And, I mean, the obvious, all very truthful, but she finally caught on. So I lost her at that juncture. So me and Jill drive all the way to San Antonio, Texas, and I start my new job.
I can't believe she went with you.
Yeah, me either.
I thought she was over you.
I did too.
She wasn't happy,
5 hours away.
5 hours away,
let alone 25 hours away.
Yeah.
Yeah, so but her mom kind of gave her one of those, hey, you need to be a woman, stick by your man, stop being a baby. One of those deals.
But, Mom, I hate him.
Yeah. I don't know if she hated Grand Rapids as much as she hated me. Poor Grand Rapids took a bad rap because of my dumb ass. So we get down to San Antonio, Texas, right? She gets bored, and she went shopping one day. Now, this is back in the day where you didn't have email, you didn't have texts, and you didn't have cell phones. So literally you had to write letters, like old school letters. So I worked at night and from 6 until 10, and then I got off. Well, one day after work, I write this big, long letter, this 2-page letter that I'm sending to Rebeka about, listen, me and Jill are down here, but she's getting ready to get shipped back. I hate her. She's the worst ever. She's already belly aching about wanting to go back. So, bitch, she's going back. It's no big deal. I'll be having you down here soon. Just have faith in me. I hate her more than anything. She's the worst. She's ugly. All the bad things she's not supposed to. But I felt bad about writing it, and so I ripped it up, literally, and I'm not kidding you, probably into 500,000 pieces. There's no human being except a scorned woman that could put this thing back together. And I threw it away in our hotel bathroom garbage can. And I go to work.
I loved it.
But I mean, 25, there's no human being on whatever dosage of Adderall to stay focused that could ever put this thing back together. Ever. I get back at about 11 o'clock, and she obviously has like 6 hours, and she puts this thing completely back together and has it laid out on the kitchen table. When I walk in, her bags are packed, and she's crying. That's the cryingest bitch I've ever been with my entire life. And so I go, what's this? And she goes, you tell me what it is. Who's Becky? I go, I don't know. I don't know.
He tried to pull up. What's this?
I took my hand and I completely went over, and the paper went everywhere. I go, well, now nobody's reading it. She goes, I've already read it like 10 times.
So you took your hand and totally foofed the letter she put back together.
Yeah. So I'm like, all right, well, what do you want to do? And she's like, I'm out of here. And she started calling me names.
Man.
At that point, her dad has to drive all the way from Terre Haute, Indiana, in an empty U-Haul. Don't think he wasn't mother effing me the entire time. The moving truck that I hired to get my stuff from Grand Rapids to move to San Antonio was now in San Antonio, and her dad was in San Antonio. And so as the movers are taking stuff out of the moving truck, and at that point I had to be there and go, okay, that one goes in the house and that one goes into his truck. So I'm like literally the moving truck and his truck are side by side. And as the movers are taking out, I go, that goes in the apartment, that goes in his truck. And so at that point they left. She loaded up her stuff. I loaded up my stuff. Now I can concentrate on Rebeka. Guess what? Now that Becky, there is no more challenge, she didn't want to be with me. She flies down and realizes that San Antonio sucks and that I am not who she probably thought I was. And, I'm no longer the big slinging D in her little hometown of Grand Rapids, Michigan, and can get her free, New Kids on the Block tickets. And being hooked up with some fat ass from San Antonio, Texas is really not as cool as it was when you live in her hometown.
She thought you were a big swinging D when really you should be walking with your tail tucked.
Well, when I was in her hometown and I could be on the air going, meow, meow, I'm saying hi to my little Rebeka, when the girls working out there at the Michigan Athletic Club.
Right.
That was cool. But when you're in San Antonio, Texas, nobody knows who the hell you are. And I wasn't even doing that well in San Antonio. Like, I went into Grand Rapids and took the town by storm. She realized I don't want to be with this guy. So she breaks up with me. And she actually wants to leave so bad that she books a flight when I'm on the air. And she gets a cab to pick her up. So now I'm on this constant quest to get her back. Well, Bon Jovi was the hottest thing going back in 1989. I'm telling you that right now.
Oh, yeah.
Well, John Bon Jovi and the guys, this is back in the day, they would come to the radio station and support the record. Everybody in the entire radio station would be there and get a picture with them.
Right.
So the rep comes in and said, listen, the bottom line is John Bon Jovi and Richie Sambora and the guys are going to come in. We're going to spend about 15 minutes. You can take as many pictures as you like, but they're not signing nothing. So they all came, and we get our pictures taken with them, and they give us all actual Slippery When Wet albums. So I take my picture with him, and I make a little frame, and I sign it to her. I take the Slippery When Wet record, and I just, my own writing, to Becky. Bubba's a nice guy. John Bon Jovi. And I said,
nice. He's got to put himself over in the forgery.
Such a liar.
And
Such a liar.
So I send it. Oh, yeah. Oh, God, this whole thing's built on smoke and mirrors and lies. And so I send it to her. She thought that was the coolest thing ever. And so we're kind of getting back together. She's back on the phone. You know, I was real mean to you. I really like you. I'm going to come down in a couple weeks. And so I'm excited and things like that. Well, her best friend happens to go to a Bon Jovi meet and greet, and Rebeka is the guest, but she doesn't get to meet him, but she goes to the concert with him. So this Brenda bitch goes back and gets a little meet and greet and pictures with him, and she gets this, they sign something to her. So Becky goes, "Oh, I got one too. I got a signature from John Bon Jovi." So when they get back to Grand Rapids the next day from going to the concert, Becky takes her Slippery When Wet album that's been signed by me. And Brenda takes her Slippery When Wet album or whatever she got signed. There's no comparison. Now, we know that Brenda's is real, right? Because she met the band.
Yeah.
So Becky calls me up. We got to talk. And I'm on the air. She has the warm line. Man, so back in the day, we didn't have cell phones. So she calls the warm line. And my producer goes, "Hey, your girlfriend from Grand Rapids wants to talk." So I go into some Martika record or some bull crap. And I go, "Hey, baby." She's like, "Nice try." What? What are you talking about? The John Bon Jovi record you gave me? Yeah. It was forged. That's your signature. No, honey, I swear to God, it's not. I got the picture. You came right to the stadium. I sent the picture. I mean, why would it? Yeah, well, Brenda just met him, and I was there with him, and she met him for real. And you should see it's not even close. Your signature. You're up. And then she just started.
Did she leave you?
Yeah, she left. Then she called me up and told me she might be pregnant by her dad's best friend.
Oh.
Just to even rub it in more.
You know you had the same response both times you got caught. What? What do you mean?
It wasn't me.
What?
It wasn't
What do you
me.
mean?
What?
Oh, no, so the plot does thicken because I tried to get her pregnant behind her back.
Oh.
What a weirdo.
Yeah. I was so in love with her. I'm like, I'm going to try to get her pregnant. So she came down. That one time she was down, and I told her that we were, doing a particular technique. And so I was trying to get her pregnant. And so she calls me one day. I'm late for my period. I'm like, "Oh, really? What happened? What's going on? What are you going to do if I got you pregnant? What are you going to do? Well, you had the baby? What are we going to do? We going to be together?" "Oh, I don't even know about that. I got to find out when I'm pregnant or not. And by the way, if I was, it wouldn't be with you anyway." "What are you talking about?" "I've been sleeping with my boss, who's my dad's best friend, for about 6 months now." You know, you're lucky, guys. I'm even still here to entertain you because it's like I didn't blow my brains out on a couple of these deals.
Man.
Yeah, so that's a story. Yippee-yo.
You had some rough goes with some women, man. You always underestimate women.
Man, here comes Bubba Boo Boo. It's a TV show.
What do you mean, Bubba Boo Boo?
Your whole life is just like a series of,
Bad thing about it is I've given all this content away for free on the radio as time fillers when I'm too crazy. I've filled all this void up with these stories, and now I can't make any money off these stories because I've given it away to you jerks for free.